Welcome to Back on the Broomstick,
a modern witch's spoken word grimoire,
where two witchy friends from way back are reconnecting to their pagan roots after a long period of mundanity.
We're rewalking the path of the wise and trying out all the latest spells, rituals, and magical theory in today's witchcraft and pagan practices.
So grab your wand and your incense,
your cauldron and your crystals,
and join us
as we get
Back on the Broomstick.
Hi, and welcome to Back on the Broomstick. I'm Layla, and this is part 3 of our series on spell work for a witchy spellcrafting summer. This episode will focus on how to power your spells, how and why to raise energy, and what to do with it once you've got it where you want it.
Wow, I'm Chelle, and that just sounds like a hoppin' good time. Actually, I'm kind of sad that we're wrapping up our 3-part series, but I think this is the most important segment, to be honest with you. Our correspondences and putting it all together, obviously that's important, but we've said it a million times. You've got your ingredients, you've got your verbiage, you've got your intentions all set to go, but then what? How do you give it that oomph? How do you put it out there? How do you project your magic to a point where your magic will happen? And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Magic is more than just a recipe. It's more than just putting all the ingredients together, more than just saying what you want, lighting your candle, and then being done with it. You actually have to power this spell to make what you want to happen.
You gave me flashbacks of microwave, toaster oven versus cooking on the stove.
There are actually different ways to power your magic, and we will get into that later in the episode. The different sources of energy that you can use and what it feels like to raise energy and how to direct it. So we're going to get into all sorts of things. This is such a good topic that this is actually our second episode on raising energy for spellcrafting.
For more info on this, check out episode 51 from, I don't even remember how long ago that was, but it was a minute ago, but episode 51, give it a listen.
I'll put a link to it in the show description.
You're being way too serious right now, so before we get into the seriousness of this, can we talk about something fun really quick?
Yes,
Good
we
answer.
Can.
Good
because
answer.
I've been so busy lately. I am going crazy packing for our upcoming festival season. I have 2 back-to-back coming up, one of which we'll both be presenting at, and I am just crazy
Where
busy.
are we going? Tell them where we're going.
We are going to Brushwood Folklore Center in Sherman, New York, and we will be there from July 17th to the 20th.
That's when I'll be there, but you're going to be there like ever.
Yeah, I'll be there all the way to the 27th. So I'll be there for the Sankofa Festival, which is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and also the Serious Rising Festival, which is Monday to Sunday the next week. And we'll be doing workshops.
It's not my fault. The podcast hasn't gotten me to a point yet where I can not work my day job.
Yeah. Actually, I do want to put a great big thank you out there to all of our benefactors. Thank you guys so much. I just paid all the bills for the podcast today.
Thank the gods.
Oh my goodness. If it wasn't for you guys, I would have some serious issues with this. Between the PO box and the website and everything, this costs money. And as we like to say a lot, it's just Chelle and I. So thank you guys from the bottom of our witchy hearts. It's a huge help. Thank you.
And we love you. And we're so glad that you love listening to us, because really, this is just 2 best friends chatting, and we love that you're along for the ride.
Yeah, and we do joke that it would be nice to have this as a job, but honestly, I'm just happy that you guys help keep the lights on.
Actually, I'm just happy that people find value in what we talk about, and that we actually change people's lives. That still blows my mind.
I love that. Thank you guys for your emails and your real mails and your messages, things that you've learned from us, things that we've helped you with. I can't tell you.
As much as you say we inspire you, I assure you, you inspire us.
So we're very excited to know that a few listeners are coming out to Brushwood to the festivals. They do have their own website, brushwood.com, I think. I'll put a link to that in the show description as well. And I think it's also on Mandragora Magica. I think they have their festivals there. But if you're interested, I believe there are still tickets available. It is an amazing time.
And I already know that we're going to have listeners there, so I'm excited. One in particular that I know we're going to see, Liz, can't wait to see you there.
Hey, Liz. My workshops for Sankofa are Everyday Omens, Charm Casting with Ordinary Objects, and walking the winding path, creating and using labyrinths in magic and meditation.
My two workshops are going to be herbal cardiomancy as well as appropriation versus appreciation, walking the witch's line. But what is a yin without a yang? What is Laverne without Shirley? And what is Chelle without Layla? So
Hmm.
I have kindly given her a nudge to join in on my workshops with me because, two's
Yeah.
better than one.
That's right. So we'll be hanging out together doing workshops. We're also going to be doing a radio show together. And Frank, the wonderful head of the radio station there, last year figured out how to put the station live on the web. And so some of our listeners were able to listen to my radio show direct from Brushwood during the festival. And this year, Friday morning, Shell and I, from 10 till 12, will be doing a radio show.
I can't even. First of all, I tell you this all the time. I hate listening to my own voice.
Mm-hmm.
And who would have thought, A, I end up on a podcast, and B, that you have roped me into a radio show DJ? Like, what
Yep.
is happening in my life?
I'm not sure who you even are anymore.
We actually put a call out for, I said, give me some DJ names, folks. And we got some funny ones. I am not gonna lie, but I haven't settled on one yet, but it's got to be something catchy like I don't even know.
Sacred Shell on the sound waves.
Oh my God, DJ Sacred Shell.
DJ Sacred Shell. Oh, I like that.
But we did get some very fun, cool, funny DJ suggestion names. I kind of like that one.
Okay, Shell's DJ name and hype. Shell Tarot. Oh, it's pronounced like Sheltero.
Oh,
They even put like a whole call sign for you. So it'd be like this. Sheltero, your hometown Salem witch, putting the itch in the ass. That is the ass in itchy asshole since the 1900s.
oh my God. Yeah, no. Okay, I recant what I said a minute ago. I have to go with that one.
That's a good one. We also have a DJ named Shell Casting.
Ooh.
So my hype, they say, is Layla, your boneyard beauty. She's been putting a spell on you and your little dog too since she was old enough to put salt rings on the roof. Get ready to get the witch back in your witch hazel and your broom back in your broom Hilda over the next 2 hours of magical musical melodies. Brought to you by your two favorite witchy aunts that even Witchy Pooh herself would approve of. Now that I like.
DJ Layla Bones. I love it. You love bones. That's so perfect.
Thank you, THB 1971. So if you have any other ideas, or if you want to vote on one of those for Shell, or if you have any ideas for Layla, send them in. You've got a few days left before our radio show.
No, I am definitely going with that whole like little paragraph thing, even if I pick a different DJ name, because that's hysterical. Hysterical.
Putting the ass in itchy asshole. That was great. That was
Since the
great.
1900s.
I'll have to see who wrote that and give them a shout out. Future Layla will pop in with their name, but thank you. That was an excellent idea.
By the way, our listeners have missed Future Layla, so they're gonna love that.
Aw. Yeah, she'll be popping in. There's a couple things that I need to update. So a few of our older episodes will be getting updates with future Layla. So be on the lookout.
But Layla is definitely going to put the link to the radio show in the show notes because if you can't make it to Brushwood, you can still listen.
That's right. And it's fun because it's live and it won't just be us. You can listen to all of the radio shows. I believe they go from like 10 till 5 or 10 till 7 every day of the festivals. So you'll be able to listen to all sorts of music, talk shows, everything. It's all run by volunteers and Frank. So it is a lot of fun and you get to listen to all types of music. We're going to do a particularly witchy focused set for our Friday show, I think.
You don't want to miss it.
All right, so this episode, again, is kind of going to be a little bit of a continuation of episode 51 that we did way back in February 2024 about how to raise energy. How do you actually get a spell to work? And I'm going to bring up Aleister Crowley again.
You know, he always gets brought up, always.
He does. He was not a great person.
You love to hate him and hate to love him.
Yeah. He did have some very interesting ideas about magic. He was very smart. And one of the things he said was, quote, magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with the will. And he capitalized the word will because that's the important part. And will and intent are like the same thing, but he also means by will your force, your energy, your life force. He felt that everything in the world wants to be in alignment, that everything has energies, and that your will is your way of getting everything into alignment with your purpose, with your path. And that's really what you need to do to power spells is gather your will, your energy, gather the will of other things and focus it into your intent.
Damn that Crowley.
Yeah, he had some good stuff to say. Shitty guy.
Still a weirdo.
Yeah, so let's move on from Crowley. But that is the basis of magic.
In our last episode about this, episode 51, we did talk about a varying amount of methods you could use to raise energy. And what works for you might be different for the next person, how you feel that energy flow through you. Or, maybe you don't feel energy flowing through you if it's drumming, or maybe you don't feel it if it's chanting or meditating. So, just because we talk about it either in the previous episode or this episode, different things are going to work for different people depending on how you feel that energy.
And that's a really excellent point because it also is going to depend on your modality of magic. Like,
Right.
where do you source your energy? Shell and I do a lot of combination. It's mostly our own will, but we also draw energy from an animistic force, from the earth, from other things. We work with the energies that are all around us. Another modality is spirit driven. A lot of people will power their spells with spirits, spirit guides, ancestors, and go with that energy strictly. Shell and I also work with that energy. And there's other mental energies as well that you can use, psychological energies. There's chaos magic. So depending on your magic modality will also depend on how you raise and draw this energy as well.
Another point is there are people that have a very hard time with visualization, and for whatever reason, it's just not something they're able to do easily. So, some of these methods might not work for them, whereas chanting, singing, dancing, drumming may be
Right.
their preferred method because it's something physical. And, when you're drumming, you feel that drum beat in your core. Or, when you're chanting or singing, you're feeling that and those vibrations go through you as you sing and chant. So, what is your best method is going to be different. And you're going to have to kind of try them, I guess, all to figure out where do you best feel that energy flowing through you.
Yep, exactly. And in this episode, we're going to talk to you a lot about how to feel it. Like in the other episode, we did talk about some different exercises and things that you could do to raise energy. This episode, we want to focus more on basics. How do you feel that energy? What can you do to actually feel the magical energy and then start to work with it from there? So, we're going to talk about a few different things. And first, I want to make sure that you know what energy we're talking about. Internal energy can feel like strong emotions when you're so excited that you feel like your body is buzzing, when you're so mad that you feel like you might explode, you're so happy that you feel a glow emanating from inside you. Or when you stare at someone to get them to look at you. Or have you ever had a hunch and had it be right?
More often than I care to admit.
That's all internal energy. Outside energy feels more like, have you ever walked into a room and felt the tension, even though no one was saying anything?
Or been near a person or group of people and just been like, ick.
Yeah. Or someone that drains your energy, even though they seem perfectly fine. You're just always drained afterwards. Or someone who always seems to make you feel up and energized. Or a good one for us, have you ever been to a festival or a concert and just felt those waves of energy and excitement coming off the crowd? That is energy. That is magic. That is power that you can use if you know how to tap into it and if you know how to raise it. So think of those feelings.
I wanted to kind of just start with chanting. And I know that we did talk about that in the previous episode, but there's a couple chants that, I learned these things way back in the 1900s. And I don't know if it's because we did it a lot or if they just resonated so deep, but it's almost like now, decades on, if I get into a zone and start these chants, that cone of power is almost like instantly there. And, I guess what chant you pick is going to depend on what your purpose is, or maybe you have a particular chant that you do every time. But I do have two that were probably my most favorite that we used, whether it was in our big community in upstate New York, or if it was in our old coven, or if it was just a bunch of us and our friends doing something. And I think the two that have stuck with me the most, we all come from the goddess. Remember that chant?
I do oh shit, you're gonna make me sing it. We all come from the goddess, and
And
to
to
her
her
we
we
shall
shall
return
return
like a
like a
drop
drop
of
of rain
rain
flowing
flowing
to
to
the
the
ocean.
ocean. We all come from the goddess.
We are the two most tone deaf
You're
mofos I
terrible.
know.
I'm so sorry for all of your ears. I'll put a link to some real singers in the show description.
The other one is, I don't know, it might have a name, who knows? I call it the goddess chant because it's about goddesses, which I know you know.
Isis,
Isis,
Astarte,
Astarte,
Diana,
Diana,
Hecate,
Hecate,
Demeter,
Demeter,
Kali,
Kali, Inanna.
Inanna.
Yep.
And those are chants that were not unique to our community. Those
No,
you'll
no,
hear
absolutely not.
everywhere. So if you learn those chants, and the thing with chants is repeated words are powerful. Working with words and with breath to raise energy is something that people have been doing since there have been people.
I find habit to be the easiest way to kind of get there, for lack of a better way to say it, to get into that space, to get into alpha, well, raising energy, the whole bit, repetition has a purpose, I think.
And breath work does as well. And in Hinduism, in Buddhism, there's this idea of prana, of breath, of life. And so chanting, you're using that breath of life that is powerful in itself. So you're adding words that have power. Words like those chants that we just said have been repeated over and over again by earth worshiping, goddess and god worshiping pagans and heathens. So they have this power of repetition and of history. You can also make up a chant. I'd made one up. I was thinking about an exercise that people could do to work with breath and with chants that they can actually feel that energy. Pick one of those chants. Or I wrote one that's really short. In dark of night, the witch's hour, I call my guides and raise my power.
I love that.
Right? It's really short. It's really punchy. Again, I like rhyming shit. Start with a whisper. And you don't have to sing it, just whisper it. In dark of night, the witch's hour, I call my guides, I raise my power. And then just keep gradually getting louder and louder and louder. More volume, more power. In dark of night, the witch's hour, I call my guides, I raise my power. In dark of night, the witch's hour, I call my guides, I raise my power. And just keep going with that.
It's literally like a physical representation of raising the energy as you
Yes.
raise your voice.
And the breath and the sound and the voice, all of it works together, and you'll start to feel that physically. You might feel yourself moving rhythmically because your body is starting to get involved and raise that energy. And so just keep repeating that as you feel the energy. The more you feel it, the louder you get. Then once you get that energy up, the idea is to gather it. And in the previous episode, I talked about gathering that at your center, a ball at your center. Or another easy way, especially with a chant, is very often you can hold something in your hands, like a crystal or a small statue. And as you're chanting, push that energy into the object that you're holding. And then you can hold on to that and use it in a later spell.
Now, I was going to say you could do the same exact thing with drumming, all the way up to the point of holding something in your hands, to direct that, because obviously you're drumming, you can't do that. But same concept with drumming, start that slow beat. And as you make it louder, make it faster. And, as you're going louder and faster, same concept, you're raising that energy. Sometimes in the past, what we've done is kind of, you're almost going so fast and so hard, you almost like don't even know what your hands are doing anymore, and then it just poofs out and you almost say collapse for lack of a better word. And sometimes we have physically collapsed.
That physical exertion, that mental exertion, all of that is energy. All of that is power that you can use to power your spells.
Now, Layla, you talked about a minute ago that you can say, hold a crystal in your hand and direct it into that. Then what? What if you are just raising energy to store it into an object like a crystal to use for a later date? Then what? Now, we have done this with altar tools, we have done this with stones and crystals. So I gather up all my energy. Let's say full moon. We have a full moon going on this week, and I want to take that full moon energy, take some of this powerful energy going out and about, my own energy, energy from the earth, and I want to put it in, we'll say, a quartz crystal. So I have this energy in that crystal. And now next week, I end up wanting, needing, having to do a spell. How can I utilize the energy in that crystal in my spell that's a week from now?
Now you've basically created a battery. You can do it with knots. You can do it, crystals are great because they have that matrix. You can do it with anything metal. I mean, you can pretty much do it with anything, but some items hold energy better than others. So now you have a crystal battery that you have charged with the energy of love or happiness or luck or anger or whatever you have charged it with. So now you're doing a love spell and you grab the rose quartz that you have practiced raising love energy with, and it's full. So now when you do your raising energy, you ask that item, hey, rose quartz, give me that energy back that I charged you with. So now when you're doing your spell, you have all that extra energy from that crystal that you can then draw into you, add it to the other energy that you're raising. Now your spell is that much more powerful.
Okay, new question. This is a left turn that I literally just thought of.
Okay.
And obviously, I know the answer, but that's not the point of this. We have in random episodes and people all over the Facebook and the TikTok talk about, oh, put all your shit out under the full moon or in the sun and get that sun energy and get that full moon energy. Charge your crystals, charge your tools. Kind of the same thing, they're gathering the energy. So are we saying that it is the same concept and then you can utilize that energy at a later date?
We are saying exactly that.
You put your crystal out on the full moon this week, and then maybe on the new moon, you have to do a spell. You can utilize that crystal and the energy that you had gathered from it and utilize it at a later date. But you still are going to have to put your own energy into it.
That gets into the concept of energy. Everything has energy. All things have energy. All people have energy. Plants, crystals, stones, the earth, the sun, the moon, everything. Everything has energy. Songs have energy. Have you ever listened to a song and it made you cry?
Oh, you know,
Right? That's energy. Emotion is energy. So you don't have to just use the energy that's in your physical body. Some of us start right out the bat being able to do weather magic and change the color of our hair with just a flick of our wrist. Not really, but it would be nice.
right? Right after I jumped off the rooftop, too.
There you go, and floated down gently. But others of us have to work at that. We have to train ourselves, just like you do with any sport. You train yourself to have more energy reserves and to be able to gather more of your own energy. However, even the most powerful witch isn't just going to reach into themselves to pull out this energy. They're going to have spell components that lend their energy. They're going to have spell batteries that they have charged with energies. They're going to draw on the energy of the moon, their land spirits, their ancestors and guides. They're going to draw on the energy of the earth beneath them that they have created a relationship with. Draw on the energy of the sun. They're going to ask Hecate to bring her energy in, and they're going to weave that energy into their working. So, how do we do that? We need to differentiate our energy and pull in other energy. How do you like to pull energy in from other sources, not just a battery?
Well, I think it's going to depend on what I'm doing and what I'm adding to it. if I'm just doing something with a handful of crystals, that's going to be a little different than if I'm pulling energy from herbs. With crystals, I'm going to put it in my hands. I'm going to rub it. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to have a sexy time with my crystal,
I like to have a conversation with them, but you do you.
right? Kind of like merge my energy with the energy in the crystal
Yes.
and almost bring that visually in my mind, kind of pull that out of the crystal and into me. But then I may have my athame that I have charged, which is more, I'm not pulling the energy from it, but using it as an extension of my hand.
Oh, you just brought up two awesome points that I totally have to. Okay. All right.
Okay, your turn for left turns.
Not exactly left turn, but little. So, first thing that you said was visualize. And that is a huge part of energy. And even if you can't visualize, even if you think in words like some of us do, you can still use those ideas, visualizing what you want, visualizing the energy, imagining the energy, creating that idea in your mind is very powerful and will work, and you can feel that energy move. So visualization and visualization exercises are extremely important.
And with that, practice does make perfect. So you just got to keep practicing.
But the other thing that you said that I absolutely love is tools can be used not only to store energy, but to direct it. And how often do you see like a magician with a wand or a staff or an athame? Because those are excellent tools to direct energy.
I happen to have this little wand that I got at one of my local Salem stores. And generally, for most ritual purposes, I like my wand to be made of wood. I personally prefer willow. But this wand I use for different things. And this is completely made of crystals. It is a labradorite main base. It's got a point quartz crystal on the bottom, and then it's got a sphere quartz crystal on the top, and then it's got, oh, I don't know, eight little different colored ones down the base of it. This would be something, because it's all made out of stones and crystals, that I would use more to direct energy than, say, my metal athame. That's just a me thing because I kind of feel that more in a crystal than I do in a metal.
And also, a crystal is more likely to be able to amplify it, especially that wand in particular is designed to amplify energy. It has all the chakra colors going down it.
Right,
It's got the quartz crystal at the end. It's
right.
designed to channel your energy and amplify it, whereas just a metal athame is more designed to just direct it.
Yeah.
Tools with points are for aiming your energy. Think of the tip like a laser pointer, channeling all the energy that you've gathered and shooting it like an arrow to your goal.
And kind of when I think of my wand that's made out of the willow, I feel that, not that it can't direct energy and whatnot, but I just feel that I get more out of this crystal one just because it's crystal and not wood. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
knocking wood, no pun intended,
Ah.
but I feel this is specifically designed, in my opinion, to be directing energy when I need to do that.
Part of the reason for that is a lot of people believe, and I'm one of them, that magical energy acts a lot like electricity or water. When you're directing electricity, crystals can amplify electricity and amplify that light and make it react in all sorts of interesting, beautiful ways. So you can direct it and amplify it with a crystal. Metal, electricity runs straight down metal. It's not amplifying it, but it's running straight through it and right out the point. And that's what you want to do with your energy in a spell is you want to concentrate it and run it straight out a point directly to your purpose. And an athame or a wand can help you do that. Now, wood is not an excellent conductor of electricity,
Yeah, no.
but water and electricity can flow along it. You can still use that to direct your will and to direct energy. It's just going to feel different. It's going to be more earthy. It's going to be more slow. It's going to be more malleable like a willow. Again, that like for like sympathetic magic, because it's rooted in the ground, that willow branch still remembers being a tree. And so it remembers being part of Mother Earth and being part of that energy. So it's going to have a little bit of a different feel to it. you should meditate and visualize with each of your tools so that you can kind of get an idea of how that energy feels for you.
But then once you find what works for you, you may get all of the same things out of that willow wand that I get out of the crystal wand. And you may be more of that earthy, grounded type of person,
Right.
whereas I'm kind of like that electric charge just waiting to burst, and I kind of need that crystal to not only direct it, but also kind of add to it.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's why I like assembling a team. That's why intention and will is totally enough. But I love working with a team. I like having my tools around me helping add their energy to my working. I think it just makes it so much more beautiful to weave those energies together.
Once you start working with a lot of your tools in this manner, it's almost like they become an extension of you or like an old friend. They're no longer a thing on your altar or a thing on your shelf or a thing on your desk. You start forming a personal relationship with these tools. And the better that relationship is, the easier everything I think is to work with, flow together, and come together in this succinct, beautiful, magical working. You got to create the
Exactly.
relationships.
And one of the ways to do that is to practice raising energy and directing it with your tools.
Because you can do that without necessarily having a spell in mind or in the middle of a ritual. You can work with raising energy and directing energy and storing energy just as a kind of an exercise to get that practice, to create that relationship, and to learn what ways of raising works best for you. Because you might have to try 6 or 7 or 8 different methods of raising energy before you feel what flows best through you.
Now, the energy that we're talking about, you can feel it as emotion. You can feel it as physical exertion. You can feel it as mental energy. Have you ever taken a test and felt completely drained afterwards?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
because you were using all that mental energy. That's energy you can use to power spells. I know we have done this. Have you ever been in a group of friends and you just start laughing so hard that you can't stop? And as soon as one of you stops, you look at each other and start laughing all over again?
And you never really seem to know why.
Yeah,
Yes.
you might have even forgotten why, but that infectious energy is passing around the whole group, making everyone laugh and excited and happy. That's magic. That's energy you can harness and you can feel it. White hot rage. That's
Yeah,
power. And we know
yeah.
Shell needs to not direct that at people in traffic because it causes problems.
It does, but I try to be good. I try to be good.
Or another good way to think about how that energy feels is have you ever been in the zone? Have you ever been completely vibing with something that you're doing? You're doing a sport and everything is working perfectly. You're creating something and just everything falls into place perfectly. You're just in the zone and everything is going so good. That's a magical place. That is energy. You are in the flow of energy right there. And those feelings, if you can remember those feelings, you can use those to raise that energy in your body. It's incredibly potent. Sex will get you into that place if you're doing it right. Anything physical, anything that you truly enjoy doing, singing, chanting, like we were talking about earlier, can get you into that sensation. And that's where the magic is. That's where the energy is.
Here's an interesting way that I have raised energy in the past. So, I love my Spotify.
Me too. I love our blend.
I do. I love that. Sometimes it'll randomly come up and I'm like, oh my God, that's mine and Layla's blend. But as a lot of us do, I kind of have one playlist that's kind of just witchy songs.
Hmm.
I got my Sarah McLachlan, I got my Stevie Nicks, I got my stuff. And sometimes that music can be an energy raiser. And I guess you have to really be kind of a music person to get it. But if you set your playlist just right, you can use music to be that energy raiser.
Oh, yeah. Throw a little high lung on there. I promise you'll feel some energy.
I mean, I've been mad before and listened to some angry music, and it really wasn't productive because it just kind of expanded my anger.
Yeah.
But we've all been there. You're happy and listen to happy music and it makes you happier, or you're sad and you listen to sad music and it makes you sadder. Same concept. And so I have curated a witchy playlist that I could use to get to that energy raising space if I needed to. Might need to rearrange a few songs, but I can use that as well. If you're not a singer, maybe you're embarrassed to sing even to yourself or chant even around yourself. Maybe you're too self-conscious to dance. Curate a playlist. Start with maybe slow, easy, meditative music before you get to the raging drumming music. But whatever it takes to get there, the options of raising energy are only limited to your mind stopping you.
One of my favorite ways to feel energy and to practice raising energy actually came from one of our coven mates back in the day, your ex. He used to talk about his hands. He would say his hands turned on.
I was worried you were going to take this down a sexual path, but nope, you gotta throw in my ex-husband. Love you.
He would talk about his hands turning on. And what he meant was sometimes when we would talk about magical energy, without even realizing it, he would start to raise energy and he could feel it. The center of his hands, his palms would start to get hot. He'd feel the heat of that energy raising right there. I used this because I can feel it right now. Just talking about it, I can feel it. It's such an easy way to raise and direct energy that I used it as a basis as an exercise for my students. So, what you do, think of a bubble bath or doing the dishes, and you have lots and lots of suds, big piles of little tiny sudsy bubbles. Imagine in your head, again, we're getting into a little bit of visualization here, but just think about all these bubbles, the time in your life when you had the biggest piles of bubbles in front of you ever. Scoop those up in your hands and then squish them till your hands are almost in a prayer position, palm to palm, finger to finger, but about an inch apart from each other. And imagine that between them you have a layer of bubbles, bubble soap. Now move your hands in and out real quick, just about an inch or so in front of your face. And you can feel that energy between them. You can feel the warmth and you can almost feel those soap bubbles between your hands. If you're having trouble feeling it, make a sink of bubbles and do it with real bubbles and then try it again without them. But practice that. Focus on that until you can feel your palms get warm and you can feel the energy. You can feel those soap bubble energy, almost like the air is thick between your hands. And practice until you can bring your hands really far apart and still feel that energy bouncing back and forth between them. Then keep practicing until you can turn your hands on and off at will. And this is the energy of your body that you are drawing up, bringing through your arms and pushing into your palms. Reiki masters do this. You're into Reiki, Chelle. I know this is something you know how to do. So this is an exercise that you can do to help you feel that energy and learn to draw and direct it into your hands and into a small space.
And since you had to bring up how I am knowledgeable of this, since I was firsthand to him doing this frequently, I can give you some insider tips. We've talked about how we have gotten ourselves to a point that we can, do a few things in within a minute or so be an alpha. I will say that he kind of snapped himself into alpha first, and then they would kind of turn on. And one thing he would kind of do at the end, not really like a clap, but almost kind of like hit his hands together and then pull them apart. And that kind of broke that,
Turned it off.
turned it off, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, it might be different things for different people. But I do think that the alpha part, kind of throwing himself into alpha in the beginning, I'm not saying it was key to it, but it definitely didn't hurt. You're kind of focusing, you're getting in that magical mental space to be doing that magical mental stuff.
Yeah. And getting into that magical mental space is not a necessary part, but it really does help.
It's another tool in your toolbox.
Exactly. Exactly. So we've talked about how to feel the energy, how to raise the energy. Directing the energy to your purpose is the next step, is the last step. How do you direct it to your purpose? And we talked a little bit about the cone of power or using an athame or a wand. And the reason for that is because, again, sympathetic magic, the doctrine of signatures, says that if you want to direct a spell to a purpose, a specific point, then you should point at it. You should throw an arrow to it. You should point at it with a pointer. You should point at it with your wand. So take all of your energy like a cone, bigger at the bottom. You're gathering it all in, and then you're directing it to a single purpose, your will, your intent, that one point, and you're throwing all of that energy to that point and letting it go and go off and take care of what you've told it to do.
And that's where sometimes things like, if you wrote something on a bay leaf, for example, you can raise that energy and then direct it into that bay leaf and then do whatever you're going to do with it, burn it, float it, flush it, whatever. But, having that focal point. But if you don't have a focal point, maybe your spell is something like, you're trying to gain prosperity in your life, and maybe it's just more of a directing your energy and your focus out to the universe, your call to the universe. Hey, this is what I'm asking for.
And it has a fine point on it. I'm asking for this
Right,
somewhat specific but not too specific thing.
right, right. So, if you have an object or what have you to direct it in, that's fabulous. But if you don't, you can also direct what I do is kind of direct your ask out to the universe.
Yeah, send it to the universe. That's or send it to your deity or your guides or your ancestors to whoever or whatever to work your will.
There's been times when I've been like, if there's anybody listening, you do what you gotta.
Yeah. This is something that you're having trouble visualizing. Imagine or enact a time when you are so mad. Have you ever been so pissed off? The rage just builds up in you until you just have to scream and you scream it out to the universe. And then you can take a big breath and you're calmer and you're a little more centered. You just threw a whole bunch of energy to the universe,
Why are you telling people what I did last week?
telling all your secrets, Shell, every one of them.
Right.
So that's what you're doing in a spell. Hopefully, it's not always rage, but whatever energy you're raising, it's that same type of feeling. You're building it and building it and building it, and it has to have a release of some sort. So your release is burning something so that that energy can go off to the universe or to your ancestors. Or maybe you're singing and you're clapping at the end and pushing, or maybe we talked in an old episode about putting all of that energy into an eggshell jar, an
Yep.
eggshell jar spell, and then physically throwing it while you're releasing the energy. So the kinetic energy matches the spell energy and you're physically throwing it. That's what you want to kind of visualize or actually do to get that energy out of you and working towards your spell goal.
But as much as you're doing that, you still, after you've done all of these said things, want to ground and center
Yeah.
to release any residual energy that you may be carrying. Because if you don't, think of like a live wire that's come down in a storm and it's just kind of flopping around in the road because there's still electricity pumping through it, even though it's broke its connection. That's kind of how you are until you ground and center. And that can really mess with you. You don't want to be that untamed live wire that's just out of control energetically.
Yeah. And you also, conversely, you don't want to have put so much of your own energy into this and drawn so much energy and used so much of your own physical and mental and psychic energy that now you're depleted. Now you're tired. Now you're cranky. Now you're sore. Both of those are possible after you've done a working.
Nobody likes a cranky witch.
Nobody does. So get a Snickers, like literally. Go eat something. Have bread and cheese was a favorite at the end. Eating something, doing something ordinary and mundane helps bring you back to the physical, helps bring you back to a center. But you can take it one step further as well and literally ground, release that energy and picture yourself coming to a balance. So release the energy into the earth, imagine it flowing back up into you until you are refreshed and renewed and in perfect balance.
I have the most hysterical story. I'm a food lover. I like food, and a lot of traditional covens and working groups and sometimes just individual solo practitioners follow the concept of kind of the cakes and ale at the end of a ritual or at the end of a working. So my coven.
I love when our Wiccan DNA comes out. You just said cakes and ale. Huh?
So I did, didn't I? So my lovely coven, we do the cakes and ale, I'm gonna call them because that's just what I call them.
According to Raymond Buckland's Big Blue Book, and somewhat common in Wiccan circles, cakes and ale is the ritual name given to the food and drink that you have to close out your spell or ritual. It was considered a vital part of any magical working and is supposed to aid in properly grounding and centering you. Eating food is an easy way to remind you that you have a body and are part of the physical world.
We do that, and generally, it's like cornbread and honey drizzled over it. So there was this one time, well, the person who was bringing the cornbread last minute couldn't come to the ritual. Did any of us think of that? No. So here we are, and we're like, oh shit, we need our cornbread. And the closest we could find was Fritos corn chips. And because honey is a part of our personal rituals,
Honey barbecue Fritos corn chips?
oh my God, here we are. We are drizzling, I shit you not, drizzling honey on corn chips
Sounds oddly good.
to eat, to ground at the end of the ritual. And can I tell you, it was the most delightful snack we ever invented. So, to all my coven mates in Salem, we are the inventors of corn chips dipped in honey.
That's kind of hilarious, actually. I love that.
At the time, we were like, what are we doing? This is going to be gross. And then as each of us took a bite, we're like, huh. But yeah, so I'm a big food grounding person.
We talked in other episodes about in our old community and in our old coven how we would physically go down to the ground at the end of raising and putting out the energy. We would physically touch the ground and talk about releasing any
I mean,
excess
I
to,
like that too.
and then coming to a balance. And then we would go eat. There would be feast afterwards. People would bring all sorts of food and everyone would feast after. Just socializing and feasting, just doing ordinary mundane things. There's something about digesting food, I guess, eating it and then digesting that helps bring you back to your body from that magical place. It brings you back from the hedge. You come back to this world, and food really helps with that. However you eat it, even if it's weird like Fritos and honey, whatever it happens to be, it can help a lot.
I feel like putting food and drink in you puts you back into reality. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Because when you're in that alpha state and when you're in that magical place, you are in a different reality, and food and drink are not a part of that.
you are all powerful goddess, warrior, queen. You are moving the energies of the universe and of life itself. You don't need to eat. You're an all powerful being.
But Shell likes corn chips and honey.
Yeah, yeah.
So you start waving corn chips and honey, and all of a sudden you go from powerful warrior witch back to Shell.
That's right. Offer me a taco and I'm there.
Seriously.
Okay, so before we go, I'm going to give you a quick visualization exercise that you can use to help you direct energy. And this involves sigil work or symbol work. It doesn't have to necessarily be a sigil. So pick a symbol or a sigil that you would like to charge. It can even be a physical object, but I prefer something mental. So think of an image. Think of a heart. Okay, you're going to do a self-love spell. So think of the image of a heart. So get yourself into a nice meditative space, and you're going to do what's called box breathing. And breath, again, is a really good way to help you connect with your own energy. And what box breathing is you breathe in for a count of 4, hold your breath for a count of 4, breathe out for a count of 4, and then hold your breath again for a count of 4. And then keep doing that and focus on your breath. While you're doing the box breathing, in your mind's eye, think of a heart. Start constructing a heart, just the symbol of a heart. And once you're able to construct the image of the heart, start filling it with the energy that you feel coming up from your core as you're doing this box breathing. Fill that heart with the energy and just picture it getting more and more clear in your mind, whatever symbol you have picked. Once you've done that, then hold that image in your mind. Release it to the universe with your intent, in this case, self-love, and then bring yourself back to center. Focusing on visualizing an image and pushing your energy into that image is a good way to learn how to power symbols.
I like that. I've been trying to get more into sigils. I think I was afraid of them because I'm so not artsy, but I like that.
Do you remember back at Sacred Space when I made you do a sigil every day?
You did, and I have a feeling you're going to make me do it at Brushwood.
I am. It's one of my things. I love when I'm out at a festival or doing workshops. I like to make a sigil for my day every single day. So, of course, I'm going to drag you into it.
Fine. We should do henna sigils.
We should. Oh my gosh. Do you remember when we used to do henna all the time out at Brushwood?
You were like the henna master. I was just your canvas.
Yeah, they looked like the squiggles of a raving preschooler, but I had a lot of fun with it and I appreciated you being my canvas. So we should do some more of that. All right. So practice, 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 raising energy, feeling that energy and directing that energy and using that in your spell work is what's really going to make them work. That's where the power comes.
So when you are creating your spells, or if you are utilizing a spell that was created by someone else, remember this is the key. It's not just following the pages and the directions in the posts online. There has to be that energy raising and directing, or the rest is just words.
So hopefully you will all be able to try some of these out and see how they work for you, see what works best for you. Like we said in the beginning, maybe it's going to be physical movement, maybe it's going to be chanting, singing, drumming.
It'd be something we didn't think of.
Yeah, however you prefer to raise energy, you're going to have to practice it and try a few different ways and see what works best.
So I really hope that you all take this opportunity to piece together the last three episodes. And if you haven't tried to create a spell or to implement a spell, I hope this gives you the courage and the info to do so. And if it does, tell us all about it. You know how to get us on the socials.
So you've got a few more months of your spell crafting summer, and hopefully these last three episodes have given you a basis to do all sorts of magical workings between now and September. So we will be getting out for some festivals out and about coming up in the next few months. You'll be able to see us all over the place.
But we are going to have another series coming out in the next month or so. And this time it's going to be on working with the moon.
And I think one of the first episodes is going to be new moon magic coming up here
Oh,
in the
I
next
love the
couple
new moon
weeks.
most.
Yes, who doesn't love moon magic? Dang. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Back on the Broomstick. Join us next week for a Solarium episode on Friday while we're out at Brushwood for festivals. You can also tune into our live radio show Friday the 18th from 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll have a link for that in the show description. And also another big thank you to our benefactors. If you would like to become a benefactor and donate to the show, there is a link down at the bottom of the show description. You can also go to our website, backonthebroomstick.com, and there's a link there as well to help support the show. In the meantime, stay wise, stay wicked,
And keep it witchy, folks.